The air feels heavy before anyone fully understands why. The sea is calm, almost peaceful, but the silence does not feel safe. The island ahead looks small. Just a strip of white land and dark green hills under a hard blue sky. From far away it seems quiet. Too quiet. The men moving toward it sense this, even if they cannot yet explain it. As the landing craft moves closer, the heat grows stronger. The sun presses down without mercy. The water shines bright, making it hard to see clearly. Many believe this will be fast. A short fight. A simple task before moving on to something bigger. That belief sits in their minds as they prepare, but it does not feel firm. It feels thin, like it could break at any moment. The beach comes into focus. It looks open, flat, exposed. There are no clear signs of danger. No loud fire. No visible movement. This silence should bring relief, but instead it creates fear. Silence means waiting. Silence means watching. Silence means the enemy has chosen not to speak yet. When the ramps drop, everything changes at once. Noise fills the air. Not just from weapons but from shouting, engines, and the rush of movement. Men step onto land that offers almost no cover. The sand is white and blinding. The heat reflects upward, wrapping around every body. It feels like stepping into an oven with no doors. The first steps forward feel unsure. The plan says the enemy should be weak here. The plan says the resistance should break quickly. But the ground does not match the plan. The hills ahead look solid and dark. They do not move. They do not react. Yet they feel alive, like they are holding their breath. Soon it becomes clear that the danger is not in front but all around. The enemy is not rushing forward. They are not charging or retreating. They are hidden. The island itself feels like it is watching. Every rock and ridge feels like a possible threat. Every shadow feels deeper than it should. Men move forward because they are trained to move forward. But inside doubt grows. Where is the enemy? Why are they not fighting the way everyone expected? The quiet turns into tension. The tension turns into fear. Not sharp fear but slow fear. The kind that sits in the stomach and does not leave. As time passes, the truth begins to surface. This island is not meant to be defended in the open. It is meant to trap. The hills are filled with unseen paths. The ground hides openings that cannot be seen from above. The enemy has not come to die quickly. They have come to stay hidden and wait. The heat drains strength faster than expected. Water becomes precious. Movement feels heavy. Every step forward takes effort, both in body and in mind. Orders come, but they feel harder to follow. Communication breaks down. Small groups become separated. Each group feels alone even when others are nearby. What was supposed to be a fast landing now feels slow and uncertain. The idea of an easy victory fades. In its place comes a question no one wants to ask out loud. What if this island was never meant to fall quickly? What if the enemy planned this moment far better than anyone believed? By the end of these first hours, one thing is clear. This is not a normal battle. The enemy has changed the rules. The island itself has become part of the fight. And as the sun continues to burn overhead, the men on the ground understand something heavy and frightening. This will not end soon. The island may look small on a map, but its meaning reaches far beyond its beaches and hills. Far away from the heat and noise, leaders have marked Peleliu as important. They believe this place must be taken no matter the cost. To them it is a step. One step in a long path moving closer to Japan. For the American side, the war has gained speed. Island after island has fallen. Each victory has built confidence. Plans are moving fast. There is pressure to keep going. To not slow down. To not give the enemy time to recover or rethink. Peleliu is seen as a threat that must be removed before the next, bigger moves begin. There is fear that this island could be used to strike back. Airfields here could support attacks on future landings. If left alone, Peleliu might become a problem later. And in war, later is dangerous. So the choice is made. Take the island now. Take it quickly. Move on. But this belief rests on many assumptions. Assumptions about how the enemy thinks. About how they will fight. About how much strength they still have left. These ideas feel solid in meeting rooms and planning maps. But on the ground they begin to feel fragile. For the Japanese defenders, the war looks very different. They know they cannot stop the enemy everywhere. They know they cannot win by pushing back into the sea again and again. So they change their thinking. Instead of quick attacks, they choose patience. Instead of open defense, they choose depth. Peleliu becomes a place to slow the enemy down. A place to make them stop and struggle. Not to win the war in one moment, but to stretch it. To drain time, strength, and confidence. Every day the enemy is stuck here is a day gained somewhere else. This is why the island matters. Not because of its size, but because of what it can do to the minds and plans of those who try to take it. A fast victory keeps momentum alive. A slow one creates doubt. And doubt is powerful. As the battle continues, this meaning becomes clearer. What happens here will shape future choices. It will change how leaders think about islands, about enemies, and about cost. Peleliu is no longer just land. It is a test. A test of planning, a test of belief, a test of how much a single island can change the path of a war. And that test has only just begun. Long before the first landing craft touched the shore, the Battle of Peleliu had already begun in quiet rooms, far from the sound of the sea. It began with maps spread across tables, with lines drawn in pencil, and with officers pointing at small dots that looked harmless. On paper, Peleliu was just one island among many. Small. Isolated. Easy to overlook. That was exactly why it seemed manageable. By this stage of the war, the American side had learned to trust momentum. Each successful landing created a feeling that the path forward was clear. The enemy had been pushed back again and again. Strong positions had fallen. Air power and ships seemed unstoppable. This success shaped thinking. It created a sense that the pattern would continue. That the next island would fall like the last. Speed became a goal of its own. There was pressure from above to keep moving. Every delay felt dangerous. Leaders feared that slowing down would give the enemy time to prepare stronger defenses somewhere else. So decisions were made quickly. Peleliu was placed on the schedule. It became part of a larger plan that looked clean and logical on paper. At the same time, intelligence reports painted a picture that felt reassuring. They suggested that resistance on the island would be limited, that the defenders were few, that the terrain, while rough, could be controlled. These reports were not lies. But they were incomplete. And in war, what is missing can matter more than what is known. Confidence grew from recent victories. Confidence can be useful, but it can also narrow vision. When success repeats, doubts are pushed aside. Questions feel unnecessary. Warnings feel like delays. Peleliu was seen as a task to be completed, not a problem to be deeply questioned. For the Japanese side, the months before the battle were filled with a different kind of pressure. Loss after loss had forced hard truths. The old way of fighting was no longer working. Charging attacks had failed. Defending beaches directly had led to fast defeat. Something had to change. On Peleliu, the defenders studied the island closely. They walked its hills. They studied its rock. They understood its caves, its ridges, and its narrow paths. Instead of seeing weakness, they saw opportunity. The island offered places to hide, to wait, and to strike only when needed. This was not about stopping the invasion at the shore. It was about turning the island into a trap. A place where the enemy would move forward slowly, unsure of what waited ahead. A place where every step would cost time and energy. A place that would not give easy answers. The defenders prepared quietly. They did not build large visible positions. They dug deep. They connected caves. They planned fields of fire that crossed unseen. Their goal was not a dramatic victory. It was endurance. To hold on for as long as possible. To make the enemy pay in ways that could not be measured only by ground gained. While American planners focused on speed, Japanese planners focused on delay. While one side looked at the calendar, the other looked at the terrain. These two ways of thinking were moving toward each other, unaware of how sharply they would clash. As the invasion date came closer, the pressure increased on everyone involved. Orders were finalized. Units trained for what they believed was coming. Many soldiers were told this would be tough but short. Hard but controlled. These words mattered. They shaped expectations. And expectations shape reactions when reality breaks them. Some officers had doubts. They wondered if the island was truly necessary. They questioned whether the airfield there was worth the cost. But in a war of movement, stopping to argue felt risky. The machine was already in motion. Changing direction felt harder than moving forward. The night before the landing, the island sat quietly under the stars. The sea moved gently against the shore. The caves were dark. The hills were still. On ships offshore, men tried to rest. Some slept. Some stared into the dark. Some thought about home. Others focused only on the morning ahead. Few truly understood what awaited them. Few knew how deeply the island had been prepared. Few imagined how different this fight would feel compared to others before it. The calm before the battle was not peaceful. It was tense, like a held breath. By the time the sun rose, the path toward Peleliu was already set. Decisions made weeks and months earlier could no longer be changed. Plans would now meet reality. Confidence would meet doubt. And an island once thought small would soon demand more than anyone expected. The world before the battle was shaped by hope, fear, pressure, and belief. All of it now moved toward a single point. The moment when the first shots would confirm what had been guessed and reveal what had been missed. The battle does not begin with a single clear moment. It begins in pieces, in scattered sounds, in confusion that spreads faster than any order. What was planned as a clean move forward quickly turns into something heavy and unclear. As forces push inland, the ground itself seems to resist them. The island rises sharply from the flat beach into broken hills and sharp rock. Movement becomes slow. Every step forward feels watched. The enemy is still rarely seen, but their presence is felt everywhere. From ridges, from slopes, from places that should be empty. The first plans begin to bend under pressure. Timetables lose meaning. Units that were meant to move together become separated. Messages take longer to reach their destination. When they arrive, the situation has already changed. Confusion grows not from panic, but from too many unknowns. The heat does not fade. It presses harder with each hour. Equipment feels heavier. Simple actions take more effort. Rest is short and broken. Water runs low faster than expected. The environment becomes another challenge, silent but constant. The enemy fights in a way many have not faced before. They do not rush. They do not fall back in waves. They wait. They let forces move forward into narrow spaces. They strike only when it gives them advantage. This creates a deep sense of unease. Fighting an unseen opponent drains the mind as much as the body. Small decisions begin to matter more than big plans. A choice to move left instead of right. A pause that lasts too long. An order given too late or misunderstood. Each choice carries weight. Each mistake costs time. And time on this island feels precious. Some moments feel almost quiet. Too quiet. Long stretches pass where nothing happens and then suddenly everything changes. The lack of warning makes every sound sharper. Every movement draws attention. The island never feels safe even when nothing is happening. Leaders on the ground struggle to balance caution with pressure. They know slowing down gives the enemy what they want. But pushing forward without clarity feels dangerous. This tension sits at the heart of the battle. Move too fast and risk loss. Move too slow and lose control of the situation. The idea of a short fight fades completely. The island does not give ground easily. Every gain feels small. Every advance feels earned. Confidence turns into determination, but also into frustration. This was not how it was meant to be. As hours turn into days, the true shape of the battle becomes clear. This is not a test of strength alone. It is a test of patience, of endurance, of the ability to adapt under pressure. Old lessons no longer apply in the same way. New ones are being learned slowly and painfully. By now, everyone understands that Peleliu is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It is slowing the advance. It is forcing changes. It is challenging beliefs built on earlier victories. The island is shaping the battle, not just hosting it. And as the fighting deepens, something else becomes clear. This struggle will not be decided by one bold move or one clear moment. It will be decided by many small choices, made under stress by people who are tired, uncertain, and determined to survive. The battle has ignited fully now. The fog has not lifted. It has thickened. and ahead lies a long path filled with hard decisions that will change everything that follows. As the struggle continues, the battle begins to settle into a harsh rhythm. Each day feels similar yet never safe. Progress is measured not in distance but in effort. A few steps forward can take hours. Sometimes a full day passes and the ground barely changes hands. This slow pace wears down the mind. What makes it harder is uncertainty. No one can clearly see the full shape of the fight. Each group knows only what lies directly in front of them. Beyond that, everything is guessed. Orders come down the line, but by the time they are carried out, the situation has already shifted. The island does not allow clean control. The hills become the center of attention. From them, the enemy can observe without being seen. Every ridge feels important. Every slope feels dangerous. Moving uphill under the burning sun drains strength quickly. Rest is brief, often cut short by sudden movement or sound. The caves begin to define the battle. They are not just holes in rock. They are part of a system. One opening leads to another. A place that seems cleared can become dangerous again without warning. This creates constant tension. There is no clear sense of completion. No moment when a position truly feels secure. Leaders are forced to change how they think. Old methods no longer work well. Power alone does not bring quick results. Fire and force push the enemy back for a moment, but they do not remove them completely. The defenders melt away, then return later from another direction. This cycle repeats again and again. Fatigue becomes a quiet enemy. It does not arrive all at once. It builds slowly. Muscles ache. Thoughts slow down. Simple choices become harder. Patience runs thin. The heat never gives relief. Even at night the air feels heavy. Sleep comes in short pieces, never deep. Fear changes shape as well. At first it is sharp and sudden. Later it becomes steady. A constant awareness that danger can come from anywhere. From above. From behind. From the ground itself. This kind of fear does not shout. It whispers all the time. Despite this, the advance continues. Not because it is easy but because stopping feels worse. Each unit pushes forward when it can. Small acts of leadership matter more than grand plans. A calm voice. A clear direction. A moment of patience. These things hold the line together. On the other side, the defenders remain mostly unseen, but their purpose is clear. They are not trying to push the enemy back into the sea. They are trying to hold on. To delay. To make every gain costly in time and effort. Their strategy is working exactly as intended. The longer the battle lasts, the more its meaning begins to shift. This is no longer just about securing an island. It becomes about proving endurance. About adapting under pressure. About learning how to fight an enemy who refuses to fight the expected way. As days pass, the cost of earlier assumptions becomes clear. Plans made far away did not fully account for this kind of defense. The island exposes these gaps. It forces hard lessons to be learned in real time. By now, everyone involved understands that Peleliu is not a stepping stone. It is a wall. One that must be climbed slowly, carefully, and at great effort. There will be no single moment that breaks it open. Only steady pressure, day after day. And ahead, waiting beyond these first hard gains, are decisions that will shape the rest of the battle. Choices about how much to push, how much to risk, and how much this island is truly worth. Time stretches on Peleliu in a strange way. Hours feel long but days pass without clear progress. The sense of being stuck becomes heavier than the heat. Men begin to realize that this island is not fighting like others before it. It does not collapse. It does not break apart. It absorbs pressure and gives very little back. The ground is unforgiving. Sharp rock cuts into boots. Loose coral makes footing uncertain. Moving even short distances requires care. A wrong step can expose someone. A pause in the wrong place can be dangerous. Nothing here feels simple. Nothing feels routine. The enemy's presence is still mostly unseen, and that is what makes it so hard. When there is no clear line, no clear front, the mind struggles to rest. Every quiet moment feels false. Silence becomes suspicious. Men listen closely, trying to read meaning into the smallest sound. Wind through the rocks. Stones shifting. A sudden stillness. Plans are adjusted again and again. What worked yesterday does not work today. Leaders learn to think smaller. Instead of wide movements, they focus on limited goals. One ridge, one slope, one cluster of rock. Progress becomes narrow and careful. Each gain is checked, then checked again. The island forces everyone to slow down, even those who hate slowing down. The pressure from above remains, but reality on the ground pushes back. Reports going upward sound different now. They speak of resistance that does not fade, of defenses that seem endless, of an enemy that refuses to disappear. Morale becomes a fragile thing. It does not collapse, but it bends. Some moments bring confidence. A small success, a safe night, a position held longer than expected. But these moments are brief. They are followed by new uncertainty, new resistance, new delays. The environment never gives comfort. The sun burns during the day. The nights bring little relief. The air feels thick. Rest does not restore strength the way it should. Bodies feel worn. Minds feel crowded. Even strong willpower has limits. For many, the question slowly forms, though it is rarely spoken aloud. Why this island? Why here? Why now? The purpose that once felt clear becomes harder to explain in simple terms. The airfield that mattered so much on maps feels distant from the daily struggle to move a few meters forward. On the defensive side, patience remains their strongest weapon. They wait. They listen. They conserve strength. They choose when to act and when to remain silent. Their goal is not dramatic success. It is continuation. Each day they hold out feels like success in itself. This kind of battle changes how time is understood. Victory is no longer something seen on the horizon. It becomes something imagined far away. Survival, adaptation, and endurance take its place. Getting through the next hour becomes the focus. Leadership at the smallest level becomes critical. Clear thinking under pressure matters more than bold words. The ability to stay calm spreads outward. When calm breaks, confusion grows quickly. The island rewards patience and punishes haste. As the fight drags on, lessons are learned the hard way. Assumptions fall apart. Confidence becomes cautious. Strength becomes measured. The island teaches that power alone does not decide everything. Understanding the ground matters. Understanding the enemy matters even more. Peleliu begins to feel less like a battlefield and more like a test chamber. It tests planning. It tests endurance. It tests belief in earlier ideas about how wars are won. The answers it gives are slow and uncomfortable. By this point, there is no illusion left about speed. No one speaks of quick victory anymore. The language has changed. Now it is about holding, clearing, adapting, surviving. The tone has shifted from confidence to grim focus. And still, the battle moves forward inch by inch. The island does not yield easily, but it does yield slowly. Each small gain carries weight, not because of how much land is taken, but because of how much effort it costs. Ahead lies the heart of the island's defense. The place where all these lessons will collide. Where choices made under exhaustion and pressure will shape what happens next. The battle is far from over. In many ways, it is only now revealing its true nature. As the fighting presses deeper inland, the shape of the island's plan becomes clearer. This was never meant to be a battle decided at the shore or on the open ground. It was designed to pull the enemy inward, step by step, into a place where every advantage slowly disappears. The more ground is taken, the harder it becomes to hold it. The hills now dominate everything. They rise unevenly, broken and sharp, filled with narrow paths and hidden spaces. From a distance they look still and lifeless. Up close they feel crowded and tense. Every rock seems to hide a story. Every slope feels like it remembers what happened there before. Movement through these hills is slow and careful. There is no rushing forward anymore. Each advance is planned, checked, and rechecked. The island has taught harsh lessons, and no one wants to repeat early mistakes. Still, even careful plans do not always survive contact with reality. The enemy's defense shows patience and discipline. They do not react to every move. They choose moments carefully. Sometimes they allow progress, only to challenge it later from another angle. This creates a feeling of never being finished. A position that feels safe in the morning can feel uncertain by evening. This constant pressure affects thinking. Decisions take longer. Doubt slips into moments where confidence once lived. Leaders weigh every choice more heavily now, knowing that even small errors can grow into serious problems. The battle has slowed not because of weakness, but because caution has become necessary. Communication remains a struggle. The terrain blocks signals. Messages are delayed or lost. What one group sees does not always match what another reports. This gap in understanding adds to the fog. Each unit fights its own version of the battle, connected only loosely to the larger picture. Exhaustion deepens. Not just physical exhaustion but mental fatigue. The mind grows tired of constant alertness. The body grows tired of constant effort. Even moments of quiet do not bring peace, because quiet here has learned to lie. Despite this, discipline holds. Training matters. Routine matters. Small habits keep order in a place that tries to break it. Shared purpose, even when questioned, keeps movement going. No one wants to be the reason the line stops. On the other side, the defenders also feel the strain. Their world is narrow and dark. They live underground and in shadow. Their patience is tested too. Supplies are limited. Space is tight. The pressure above never fully disappears. Yet they remain committed to their goal. Delay, endure, and resist for as long as possible. This clash of endurance defines the heart of Peleliu. It is not a battle of speed or surprise anymore. It is a battle of will. Of which side can adapt faster? Of which side can accept change without breaking? The island strips the war down to its core. No grand speeches. No sweeping movements. Just steady effort under harsh conditions. Just people making decisions while tired, thirsty, and uncertain. This is where ideas about war meet their limits. Gradually, the defenders begin to lose space. Not suddenly. Not dramatically. But slowly. Pressure builds from many directions. Paths are cut off. Options narrow. The island's defense, strong as it is, cannot remain untouched forever. Yet even as progress becomes visible, it does not feel like victory. The cost has changed how success is understood. Gaining ground brings no celebration. Only relief. Relief that the day is over. Relief that the position is held. Relief that tomorrow can still be faced. By now, the battle has reshaped everyone involved. Early confidence has been replaced by respect for the enemy and the terrain. Simplistic ideas about control have been replaced by hard-earned understanding. The island has forced adaptation at every level. And still there is more ahead. The deepest defenses remain. The hardest choices are not finished. What happens next will decide not just who holds the island, but what this battle will mean when it is finally over. The path forward is clearer than before, but no easier. The island of caves has revealed its strength, and taking the rest of it will demand patience, restraint, and endurance beyond what anyone expected at the beginning. As the pressure continues to build, the battle begins to change its shape again. What once felt like chaos slowly turns into something colder and heavier. The noise does not stop, but it becomes part of the background. What stands out now is effort. Constant effort. The kind that wears people down without warning. Every advance is slower than the last. Not because of fear alone, but because experience has taught caution. The island has punished every rush forward. So now, every move is measured. Every pause has a reason. Even then, nothing feels fully under control. The caves that once felt endless are now better understood but never simple. Some are shallow. Some go deep. Some connect in ways that surprise even those who have studied them closely. Clearing one space does not mean the danger is gone. It only means the danger has moved, shifted, or gone quiet. This creates a strange feeling. Progress exists, but it never feels complete. There is no clear line that says, this part is finished. Instead, there are only areas that feel slightly less uncertain than before. Even those areas demand constant attention. Leadership is tested in new ways. Not through bold speeches or fast decisions, but through patience. Through the ability to keep people focused when the reward feels distant. Through calm judgment when emotions run high. Fatigue makes tempers short. Good leadership keeps them steady. The meaning of courage changes here. It is no longer about charging forward. It is about standing firm. About doing the same hard task again and again even when the results feel small. About trusting the people beside you when the larger picture feels unclear. The defender's strategy continues to do what it was designed to do. It slows everything. It stretches time. It forces the attackers to commit far more energy than expected. Even as space is lost, the delay itself becomes a kind of success. But delay has limits. Supplies thin. Options narrow. The defenders begin to feel the weight of isolation. They still resist, but the pressure is constant now. There are fewer places to fall back to. Fewer choices left. The battle becomes quieter in some ways. Fewer large movements. More careful positioning. Less shouting. More waiting. This waiting is not peaceful. It is tense. It asks too much of the mind. It leaves space for doubt to grow. Questions continue to surface. About planning. About priorities. About whether this island truly needed to be taken at this cost. These questions do not stop the battle, but they shape how it is remembered even before it ends. By now the fight has stripped away all illusion. No one believes in easy victories anymore. No one speaks lightly about success. The island has demanded respect from everyone who has stepped onto it. Slowly, steadily, control increases. Not in a dramatic sweep, but through persistence. The defenders are pushed deeper. Their movement becomes harder. Their ability to surprise shrinks. The system that once felt endless begins to show strain. Still, the end does not feel close. Even as resistance weakens, the island refuses to offer a clean conclusion. It holds on to tension until the very last moments. As if it wants to be remembered not for how it fell, but for how long it refused to fall. When the battle finally begins to quiet, it does not feel like triumph. It feels like release. A long-held breath finally let go. The ground is held. The objective is met. But the weight of what it took remains. Those who have lived through it carry something forward. A deeper understanding of war. Of planning. Of limits. Peleliu has changed how battles will be fought in the future, even if that truth is not fully understood yet. The island stands silent again, its caves dark, its hills still. But the story it has written is heavy and lasting. A story of patience over speed. Of endurance over force. Of how a small piece of land reshaped the thinking of a much larger war. And as attention begins to shift toward what comes next, one thing is certain. Peleliu will not fade easily. It has left its mark not just on maps and reports, but on the minds of all who faced it. When the fighting slows and the island finally grows quiet, it does not feel peaceful. The silence feels heavy, like something left behind. The wind moves across the ridges and through the broken rock, passing over places that once felt alive with tension. Now those places feel empty but not forgotten. Those who remain on the island take time to understand what has just happened. It is hard to explain in simple terms. The battle did not end with a single clear moment. There was no loud signal to mark the finish. Instead, resistance faded slowly. One position after another fell silent. One long day blended into the next until the danger no longer felt constant. For many, relief comes mixed with exhaustion. Bodies are worn down. Minds feel stretched thin. The effort it took to keep going day after day now shows itself. People move more slowly. Voices are quieter. Even small tasks feel heavy. The island has taken something from everyone who fought there. Looking back across the ground that was gained, it does not seem large. On a map, the island still looks small. But those who walked it know better. Every ridge, every slope, every hidden space demanded attention. The land was not just ground to be taken. It was an opponent of its own. Leaders begin to review what happened. Reports are written. Decisions are questioned. Some choices are defended. Others are quietly doubted. The question that hangs over everything is simple but uncomfortable. Was it worth it? There is no easy answer. Strategically, the island is now secure. The threat it once posed is removed. Plans can move forward. But the cost paid here changes how future plans are made. Confidence is no longer blind. Assumptions are tested more carefully. The enemy is no longer expected to fight the same way everywhere. The lessons of Peleliu spread beyond the island. They reach other battlefields still waiting ahead. Commanders begin to understand that the enemy has adapted. That defense can be patient, layered, and deeply rooted in the land. Future battles will be approached with greater caution because of what happened here. For the soldiers, the lessons are more personal. They have learned what endurance really means. They have learned how fear can change shape over time. They have learned how important trust is when clarity disappears. These lessons do not fade quickly. They travel with them. The defenders who held out for so long are also remembered, though often unseen. Their strategy achieved its purpose. It slowed the advance. It forced adaptation. It showed that even when victory is unlikely, resistance can still shape events in powerful ways. Peleliu does not become famous in the same way as some other battles. It does not fit a simple story of quick victory or clear turning point. Instead, it becomes something quieter. A warning. A reminder. A question mark in the middle of a larger campaign. Over time, attention moves on. New battles begin. New names fill reports and headlines. But for those who were here, Peleliu stays close. It remains in memory as a place where certainty broke down. Where patience mattered more than speed. Where the limits of planning were exposed. The island itself returns to stillness. Grass grows back in places. The sea continues to move against the shore unchanged. From a distance, it once again looks calm and harmless. But beneath that calm lies a story carved into rock and memory. Peleliu stands as proof that war is not always decided by size, strength, or speed. Sometimes it is decided by who can endure longer. By who can adapt when plans fail. By who can accept that control is never complete. As the chapter closes, the meaning of the battle becomes clear. This was not just a fight for an island. It was a moment that reshaped thinking. A lesson written slowly and painfully. One that would echo through the rest of the war, long after the last sound faded from the hills. Even after the last resistance fades, Peleliu refuses to let go easily. The battle ends on paper, but it continues in thought. In quiet moments. In memories that return without warning. The island has become more than a location. It has become a feeling that stays with those who pass through it. For many, the hardest part is understanding the gap between expectation and reality. Before the landing, Peleliu was described as necessary but manageable. Afterward, it feels like a question that has no clear answer. The gap between what was planned and what happened is wide, and that gap demands reflection. Those who walk the island after the fighting notice details they missed before. The narrow paths. The way rocks rise sharply, blocking sight and sound. The way caves blend into shadows. Now it makes sense. The island was always prepared to resist. It was never meant to be taken easily. The experience changes how future battles are imagined. Leaders begin to speak differently. They no longer assume the enemy will meet them openly. They expect hidden defenses. They expect patience. They expect resistance that does not fade just because ground is taken. Peleliu becomes a reference point even when it is not named. There is also a quiet respect that grows. Not celebration. Not pride. But understanding. Understanding that endurance on both sides shaped this battle more than speed or force. That planning must account for human limits as much as strategic goals. For the soldiers, returning to normal life feels distant. The island has taught them to stay alert, even when nothing is happening. Silence no longer feels empty. It feels full, crowded with meaning. This does not fade quickly. Some speak about Peleliu later. Many do not. The experience is hard to explain to those who were not there. Words feel too small. How do you explain a battle where progress is slow, danger is hidden, and victory feels heavy instead of joyful? Over time, history places Peleliu into books and records. It becomes a line in larger stories of the war. But those records struggle to capture what truly mattered. Not the dates, not the distances, but the feeling of being tested day after day without clear reward. The island's legacy is not one of glory. It is one of warning. A warning about underestimating terrain. About trusting assumptions too easily. About believing that success in one place guarantees success in the next. Peleliu reminds future generations that war adapts. That enemies learn. That every battle carries its own logic, shaped by land, belief, and choice. What works once may fail the next time. As attention shifts forward, toward larger battles and final outcomes, Peleliu quietly holds its place. Not loud, not celebrated, but firm. It stands as a moment where certainty cracked and understanding grew. The chapter of Peleliu closes not with triumph, but with clarity. Clarity that power has limits. That planning must bend to reality, and that even a small island, when shaped by patience and purpose, can slow the march of history. The war moves on. New names will soon replace this one. But the lessons of Peleliu travel forward, carried by those who learned them the hard way. And in that sense, the island never truly leaves the story. In the days that follow, Peleliu becomes quieter, but it never feels empty. The silence feels earned, not natural. It carries weight. Those who remain move carefully, almost out of habit. Even when danger has faded, the body remembers what it learned here. Work continues. Positions are secured. The island is organized and prepared for what comes next. From the outside, it may look like order has returned. But beneath that order is fatigue. Deep fatigue. The kind that does not disappear with rest alone. Conversations change in tone. They are slower. More thoughtful. People speak less about what they did and more about what they saw. About moments that stood out. A pause before moving forward. A long wait in the heat. A decision that felt small at the time but later seemed important. The idea of victory feels different now. It is no longer loud or proud. It feels quiet. Almost fragile. The island was taken, but it demanded more than expected. That reality stays close, shaping how success is defined. Far from Peleliu, the war continues to move. Plans are still being made. New targets are being studied. But the lessons learned here begin to influence those plans. Not all at once. Not openly. But slowly, through caution, through changed questions, through deeper attention to terrain and defense. Peleliu teaches that the enemy is no longer fighting for ground alone. They are fighting for time. For delay. For psychological strain. This understanding becomes important as the war pushes closer to Japan itself. The battles ahead will not be easier. They may be harder. Those who leave the island carry Peleliu with them. Not as a story they tell often, but as a reference point. A reminder of what hidden resistance looks like. Of how patience can be a weapon. Of how confidence must always be tested. For history, Peleliu becomes a difficult chapter. It does not fit neatly into simple stories of advance and victory. It raises questions that are uncomfortable. About necessity. About cost. About how decisions are made under pressure. But perhaps that is its true value. Not as a symbol of triumph, but as a lesson. A lesson that war is shaped as much by mistakes as by success. That learning often comes too late for those who pay the price. The island stands as it always did. Small. Quiet. Surrounded by endless water. From a distance, nothing about it explains what happened there. Only those who walked its ground understand how much it demanded. As the story moves forward toward larger and more famous battles, Peleliu fades from attention. But it does not fade from meaning. It remains a shadow behind future decisions. A reminder whispered rather than shouted. The next battles will be influenced by this one. The caution. The adjustments. The understanding that enemies adapt, and that land can fight back in its own way. Peleliu has prepared the ground for what is coming. And so, as this chapter closes, it does not end the story. It deepens it. It sets the tone for the challenges ahead. The war has learned something here. Whether it listens fully is a question that the next chapters will answer.